Joining us now is retired Colonel Miri Eisin, Director of the International Institute for Counter-Terrorism at Reichman University. Thank you for joining me. Now, Miri, the IDF is deepening its reach into southern Gaza. What can you tell us about this next stage of the war?
So as we were listening to the descriptions from Pierre, from Zach, going around the borders, when I talk about the ground operation inside the Gaza Strip, we are expanding our activities on the ground against the different Hamas terror targets inside the Gaza Strip. Now, that basically means all of the Gaza Strip. The Hamas, as a terror organization who ruled over the Gaza Strip for 16 years, they've built their capabilities, the amassment of their weapons, the self-production sites, the positions themselves of anti-tank weapons, of drones, of firing against the different Israeli positions throughout the Gaza Strip. So we're active in the northern Gaza Strip, and now we are also doing same kind of slow, systematic coverage in the central and south of the Gaza Strip. All of this whilst we are trying as hard as we can to make sure that civilians are not in the line of fire, meaning we're telling civilians yet again to up and move. In this case, we've been very clear to Khan Yunis. That has been the focus of these attacks, both from the air and now from the ground. The Khan Yunis civilians move to near the seashore. In that sense, if you look at a map afterwards, you'll see that from where they are, they actually need to be going north-northwest, but they need to move. This is to save their lives. So the IDF itself is targeting these different places and trying to be active, hand in hand with all of the other challenges that you heard, both from Pierre, but especially from Zach, that are happening on all of our other borders.
Now, it's believed that the IDF will soon move forward into the area of Sajaiya. What kind of Hamas opposition is to be expected there?
So the Hamas itself have built themselves as this, what I call a terror army, meaning they're built in a similar structure to the way you think of an army. It has battalions, it has companies, it has different types of teams, and they're armed with semi-conventional light weapons, but they do so in a way where they're built inside. This is all in urban areas. This isn't military bases. It isn't far away in the mountains. It isn't tunneling that's far away from anything. It's at the heart of Shajaiya, as one of the neighborhoods of the Gaza Strip. And as we're looking at the photographs of what Israel has been attacking, meaning the IDF, both from the air and from the ground, it is the different positions inside apartment buildings, inside the different structures. It can be a school, it can be a kindergarten, it can be a mosque, and underneath that all, and we don't see that because we're not seeing up-to-date photos by Hamas of their underground subterranean arena. So you attack, above ground, you try to get to the opening of the shafts that go deep down into that underground subterranean arena, which may have hostages in them, and that's where you're going to find the Hamas terror fighters. That's also probably where some of the hostages are held, still in the northern Gaza Strip, and the bulk of them probably in the center and in the south. So it's a systematic work inside these neighborhoods, urban area. You're going to see destruction. It's inside that urban area. That's why Hamas built it there in the first place, to try to stop Israel from going after their terror capabilities. And this time Israel has said, we're going after those capabilities, telling the civilians, move out, move to the safe areas. We're coming in to destroy all of these capabilities that are in there.
Now you're speaking of an urban area. How will the IDF deal with such a very populated civilian region? Is it even possible to maneuver in such a populated region?
So first of all, of course it is. It's just a question of the different challenges and the different challenges in that sense and how you respond to them. The IDF, in the first 3 weeks of the ground operation, preceding that for almost also 3 weeks, said systematically to the civilians, move out. And once they had moved out and moved south into safe areas, we're in a war, Sivan. It's not about nice areas, but it is safe, and that's a place where they will be saving their lives and taking care of at that humanitarian level. In these urban areas now, you have to go in, find the different positions, find the different terrorists, and constantly try to avoid all of the different civilians that have stayed there. I'd say that, let's say 80% of the civilians left, then you're very aware of the fact that 20% stayed, and you need to avoid them. You need to look for them. You need to try as hard as you can to make sure that they also leave, in the sense that once you give an upfront that you're going to attack to let more civilians out without allowing the Hamas terrorists to use those civilians as additional human cover. So it is definitely the most challenging type of warfare for any kind of military in the world. We are doing it slowly and systematically as much as possible to avoid that loss of civilian life. We're not going to stop at going against Hamas, but we're not allowing them to use the civilians in that way and in such a way so that we're not going after Hamas. We're telling the civilians to leave consistently, both in the northern Gaza Strip and right now in certain areas in the south.
Now, we know the IDF killed the Shati battalion commander. How significant is that?
So today it's the Shati, or really last night, the Shati battalion commander. We talked about other battalion commanders. Over the last 2-3 days, they've killed an additional several battalion commanders, company commanders. Command and control, both in a terror army as in a regular army, are of significance. It's the ones who know how to tell the different teams where to go, how to reorganize, what to regroup in. And when you are targeting the top echelon, you are making not just a statement, you are most definitely taking apart. That's what we call dismantling. You're taking apart the command, the control, the capabilities, the weapons, the caches, the self-production. All of these are part of the dismantling or destruction of Hamas terror military capabilities. So right now, Shati, an area that we were in, you get to that one, it's called the systematic closing in on these commanders. For the Hamas themselves, by the way, the fact that their commanders are the ones who are not taking the brunt of the fight because they are deep down underground in those subterranean tunnels just goes to show what a terror organization is. In Israel, in that sense, our commanders, the company commanders, battalion commanders are at the forefront